When Jo Ritson hired me to come here, he had a lot of convincing arguments. And one of his arguments was, it never rains in Limburg. And Jo, fortunately, the other things you told me were right, but at least we keep the tradition that it's not raining on opening day. Welcome to this ceremony for the opening of the academic year 2011 and 2012. And for me, this is a special day because I can address you as the new president of this university for the first time. It is not a sign of egocentricity or even a reflection of the financial cuts that we this year have not chosen to invite an external speaker. My colleagues Gerard Mols and André Postema, as well as many others, have encouraged me to take this opportunity to give my view on the future of Maastricht University, as well as to reflect on our strategic program and the opportunities of having a thriving university as a motor of our region. Please don't be afraid. I have been sitting for many years on your side of this room, and I know that these sessions can be long and sometimes even boring, but this was never the case here in Maastricht because always a nice tone was set that was both stimulating and challenging, and I hope we also can do that today. My message to you is about relations. Relations both internal and external that are crucial and will be increasingly important for us. I've chosen 4 weddings and a funeral as a title for my talk since I was reminded of this movie as I was collecting my thoughts for this afternoon during the rainy season in Maastricht, formerly known as summer. A wedding is a nice metaphor for partnerships and relations that are and will be essential for the success of an organization in an increasingly complex and challenging world. In the true spirit of our strategic program that we are now discussing and that is entitled Inspired by Quality, I will take you through 4 stages where relationship management of this university will be crucial for a good future, not only for this institution, but certainly also for our region and, I believe, the Netherlands as a whole. A wedding creates a picture that seems appropriate for an opening day where we talk about our relations. But what has the notion of a funeral to do in this context? Well, I feel that if we talk about the positive prospects of this region, we also need to mention some of the risks and threats and some of the stereotypes which we have to get rid of if we wish to make significant progress. But let's go back to the beginning of my talk. Building and maintaining relationships are important for the success of any organization and even whole countries. The competition of the future is collaboration is a statement from our good friend Steve Wortman, president of the Association of Academic Health Centers in the US. With this postulate, he lays emphasis on the fact that the formation of networks is needed to be able to cope with the challenges that our societies are facing. No single institution or institute with a limited repertoire will be fit enough to solve the great challenges on its own. This is also true for our university. How will we be able to position us regionally, nationally, and even globally? What are our networks that we choose and who will be our privileged partners? And what is the added value or the possible threats of such collaborations? The so-called grand challenges in Europe that are of course also relevant on a global scale. For example, how to protect or achieve economic stability, how to tackle the energy crisis in a sustainable way, and how to guarantee efficient and affordable healthcare for all are complex issues that require a multidisciplinary approach. Complexity calls for interdisciplinarity and the spirit of collaboration in finding appropriate solutions. That is more easily said than done, since it means that we have to overcome historical walls, cross borders, and reach a common platform, as well as an aligned strategy that ideally should generate a win-win situation for everybody. On paper and from a historical perspective, no country seems to be better suited to achieve this than the Netherlands, with its tradition of consensus building and the so-called polder culture. But is this a reality or merely a feel-good fairy tale? Are we not faced, also in this country, with a reality where walls that have been taken away years ago are threatened to be built up again? Are we not moving into a more segmented situation than before? The recent developments across Europe, dictated by the financial crisis, that have also hit this country, make you wonder about the future of a European knowledge society, as has been postulated, among others, by the Lisbon Agenda. My answer to this is that there is no way of turning back in this crisis to a principle of everybody for himself. This would be deleterious for making progress in situations where the grand challenges only can be efficiently tackled and overcome at a large European or international scale to provide a safe future for our children. The competition of the future is collaboration. I'm reiterating on this statement because I strongly believe that we have the chance to achieve this in our region more efficiently and more sustainable than in many other places. As Limburg and the so-called Brainport 2020 region here in the southeast of the Netherlands has in every aspect all the necessary ingredients that are a recipe for success. Let's now examine this need for collaboration and improved partnerships on the 4 different levels, the 4 weddings, if you will, that I've postulated earlier. The first chapter of my talk is entitled Be Who You Are, the University as an Academic Community. In these times, you sometimes get the feeling that the term academic or academia is a bad word referring sometimes to some nerdy people sitting somewhere and burning your money, and they have nothing to do with so-called true needs of society that can easily be achieved by others. If you look at the origins of academia and go back to Plato, you will find that academia started as a meeting place of knowledge exchange and passing on knowledge to others, its development, its transmission across generations, and defining also the function of its transmitters. And even today is knowledge, how to achieve it, how to distribute it, and how to maintain and expand it, a crucial condition for the well-being of any society. I like to see the university at the core and providing the basis for this. And academia by no means is something that has to be far away from the society. It's really at the very core of it. The motto of our university, leading in learning, therefore stands for our approach to provide innovation in the educational context to help this society to move along. This motto is not restricted to our students alone. The university is to be considered an academic family, comprised not only by professors, but also by everybody else who is here, including our students, as well as the supporting and administrative staff. Surprising as it may be, I believe that there is still work to do to bring the academic family of Maastricht University closer together. This is because, like many universities, our university also has sometimes to deal with fragmentation. Of course, there is nothing wrong with different identities in different parts of an institution such as ours, which is actually spread out over the whole city of Maastricht. And we are, of course, proud of each and every one of our faculties which have developed here over the last 35 years. Let's not forget that Maastricht University has almost been built up like a grassroots movement, a rebellious place, as one of my colleagues has called it, and as an organization that for a long time had to fight for its place in the Dutch landscape. We have discussed this also, this history, this morning in our symposium. This needs still a lot of standalone efforts. In addition, universities thrive based on the concept of diversification, multidisciplinarity, and the input of different disciplines represented by faculties and their deans, and that is a guarantee for a healthy university. Nevertheless, as I've said earlier, when it comes to the big themes that I've characterized along the lines of the challenges in Europe, one faculty and one university alone cannot be broad enough to approach this problem in an integrative manner. I'm proud to say that we have recognized this early on and reacted in this context also to the recommendations of the so-called Veerman Commission that calls for differentiation and profile development for the Dutch universities. This will be set down in the new strategic program of the university, inspired by quality, that we're now discussing on many levels from the supervisory board to the university council. And I think that the theme, one of the themes, or the themes that we have developed within this program, are also very appropriate to attack and to challenge some of the big issues that I've mentioned before. And we do this also by crossing faculty borders. We have defined 3 big themes for this university entitled Quality of Life, Europe and Globalization, and Learning and Innovation. These are, of course, just broad headlines and container definitions for many excellent programs. To illustrate this, let me give you an example by looking closer at one of these programs, Quality of Life. In this theme, the Maastricht University Medical Center and the Maastricht Health Campus will play a large role. But truly, all faculties will contribute integrating such important issues as human rights from the law faculty, aspects of the service science factory in the School of Business and Economics, research on behavioral factors that will be investigated by the Faculty of Psychology and Neuroscience, and social issues related to health and well-being, for example, of the aging population, will be addressed in the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. One of the first initiatives that will be addressed in this broad program is called Eat Well. And if you look at this slide, you can see that all of the faculties are really working together to find an approach how we can use the influence of eating, food, a healthy diet on not only physical health, but also societal and mental health. Within our research tool Nutrim, as well as many programs across the faculties, this profile has really led to a hotspot for this university that is very competitive nationally and internationally, and is also highly complementary to the program and our friends in Wageningen University that, of course, play also an important role in this sector. And we will also be very active in many other of the so-called top sectors that have been defined, for example, the life sciences. Maastricht University, with its more than 15,000 students, is by no means any longer a small university. And our academic community has spread out over the city and beyond by focusing our core business in several campus areas. First and foremost, I would like to mention our inner city campus, where 4 faculties are woven within an urban campus concept. Whereas its historical origins were the Faculty of Medicine, Maastricht University has grown into a general university where its schools of business and economics, the Faculty of Law, Humanities and Sciences, with its University College, and we just heard we are supposed to call it a Maastricht Science Program, as well as the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, have grown immensely over the last years, are well established, and have developed quite unique profiles in comparison to other similar faculties in this country. That's why we'll lead and follow the discussion concerning the concept of the so-called Fairman Commission. We're looking forward to this discussion because we think we are very well set up in profiling our university in the national context. Our common ground is the concept of problem-based learning, which was introduced here as the second university worldwide. And with the context of this program, we will build further based on this great tradition, also when we consider our plans of expansion in the inner city. And if you look here, you will see that we have also defined a catalyst by looking at what we call a leading and learning program, where we use funds from the university for innovation. Because if you have such a slogan, it's not something that you can rest on. You continuously have to develop further. But there are still some aspects that separate us from each other. When I came to Maastricht 2 years ago, one unresolved issue was apparently the relationship between the university and the academic hospital. If you look at this slide about the Maastricht University Medical Center Plus, of course you have something that some people would call a ménage à trois, where on one hand you have a faculty that is, of course, deeply woven into a university, and then you have an academic hospital that seems to want to be part of this happy family. On the other hand, if you turn it around and form a Maastricht University Medical Center where you basically have this faculty leaving, then the university is very unhappy. It is in these 2 slides probably summarize adequately a lot of the discussions that we had over the last 3 years. Still, I'm very surprised when I meet opinion leaders in the Netherlands and even here in the region that honestly believe that the academic hospital and the university are completely unrelated entities that should be considered and negotiated with very separately. I think there's insufficient knowledge that since 2008, the university and the academic hospitals are working closely together under the umbrella of the Maastricht University Center Plus. The Plus, of course, standing for the fact that this center is different from any other university medical center in the Netherlands, since it includes a very strong faculty of health sciences, now part of the so-called FHML faculty, and forming one of the largest health research clusters in Europe. Also, this is very unique in this country and even in Europe. The MEMC Plus is therefore not only a typical tertiary care clinical center for specialist diagnosis and treatment, but integrates medical knowledge with issues of public health, primary care, and medical life sciences as a whole. It is remarkable that in striking contrast to the insufficient knowledge about the structure in Limburg, our concept is internationally considered a blueprint for the academic health center model, and a respected contributor in developing regional medical care in the context of a so-called academic health system. Nevertheless, it seems that not only walls can separate us, but also rivers as well. And as somebody who lives in the so-called weak section of our city, sometimes you can have the feeling that nothing is further away than the other side of the Maas. 2 years ago, I was privileged to be asked by the two supervisory boards of the university and the academic hospital to moderate a process of coordination of the strategies of both organizations, which was rightfully requested by the provincial government and our governor, that both institutions share more common ground than separates them. And I'm very happy that as a result of this process, a covenant between the Maastricht University Medical Center, the university, and the province has been signed in 2011, where we defined and prioritized projects of common interest and support of each other. But this was only the initial step, since in resolution of this ménage à trois, we have still to address the question how we can build up a real university medical center that is truly also a part of Maastricht University family, the academic family that I mentioned earlier. So we have to design a model that is very specific for the Maastricht situation. We asked two experts to give us advice and to make suggestions for this future structure, and this will, in our view, also imply that we think about a common umbrella over the Maastricht University Medical Center and university with simplified and unified governance. The discussions about this are in full swing at many levels, also within our supervisory board, and we hope that we will have soon some results that we can share with you how this goes further. We also work very well together at the level of the executive boards, where we have twice a month meetings to discuss common strategies. And I think this will be very essential if we have to put our agenda up in the common and current discussion about profile development and differentiation in the Dutch university landscape. A coordinated and broad university strategy helps us to position Limburg well within the BrainPort 2020 agenda and the national top sector approach. The initiatives in the context of the Camelot campus and the Maastricht Health campus, as well as the inner city campus and other activities such as in Venlo, that we have set up with our partners are evidence that as university and as university medical center, we do not see our role in splendid isolation, but as strong partners and motors for the local and regional economy and society. This brings me to the next important partnership for our university, and I will call this chapter University and Society, Odd Couple or Match Made in Heaven. The view from outside on our university is quite diverse, and we saw this morning during our symposium. In many places, Maastricht is seen only as an international university. And of course, internationality is a very prominent element of our profile. But we shall never forget that our attention has to go out especially to the province of Limburg and the city of Maastricht. Why? Because we educate the children of this region together with their international counterparts. Our university has taken a prominent role in the past and will continue even more so as a motor for regional development. Since we are the university for Limburg, and in this function embedded in a network of knowledge institutions in the southeastern part of the Netherlands. Maastricht University has therefore identified several target countries in the whole world, countries where we have special partnerships in terms of student mobility and research collaboration. But in this context, Limburg is and will remain our target country number one. Together with our partners in higher education, we provide an important service for the region, first and foremost as a provider of higher education. But this is only one side of our contribution to the region. We are also an important factor for economic stability in the Maastricht region, since together with the Maastricht UMC, we employ about 9,000 people, and we are one of the largest employers in Limburg, with a total turnover together with our University Medical Center of about 900 million euros. The more than 15,000 students of our university contribute to the atmosphere of our city. If you are walking around here, you feel the vibrancy of a young city, much in contrast to the common image of South Limburg as a place that is deserted by young people. I'm always amazed and even shocked when I look at old photos of our cities in the 60s and 70s, at a time when the mines were closed. Maastricht was suffering for years from an economic crisis, unemployment, as well as many social problems. If we look at this photo, this is one of the buildings that is now part of our university, has been restored, is used by young people, and creates to the positive image on the city. Also, we should not forget that the executive board office on the Minderbroedersberg used to be a prison. And here in this picture, we see one of my predecessors in his office. Yo, I hope it's not you. Yeah, I hope it's not you. And also here you can see a transformation. Interestingly, on this picture, it looks like the members of the executive board also seem to have slept in their office. Anyway, the wise decision to bring university here truly has transformed the city to a place that is dynamic, has stamina, and a young look at life that is really embedded in this region and is an attractive and well-known spot in Europe. In the future, we will expand our regional role by further enhancing our contacts to other educational institutions in Limburg, by building on our relations with the Hogeschool Zuid and exploring ways to collaborate further with institutions such as the Open University in Heerlen and also others. Since we see us as a university for the whole of Limburg, we also will continue with our projects in North Limburg that are, for example, represented in the campus Venlo in cooperation with the Fontys Hogeschool, where we have as a start place 2 new innovative education programs, health food management and global supply chain management and change at a master level. And I can tell you that these programs are growing very rapidly and very vigorously. Because we know our local and regional responsibilities well, we orient ourselves also to specific of the Limburg culture in close association with the province. For example, to the recent endowment of a special professorship in Limburg language culture, where our new chair will investigate the role of languages spoken in the region, not only by the locals, but also by the migrants who live here in the true development of a regional culture. In addition, I would like to mention the example of the concept for Quartier des Arts. I think that is named Quartier des Arts in Maastricht, where Maastricht University and our Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences will cooperate with other institutions and our city government to create a vibrant area for interactive education in the arts as an important building block for Maastricht's application to become the cultural capital of Europe in 2018. And I hope it will be successful. But our region does not stop at the border of Limburg. The Brainport 2020 concept is defining the region of the Southeast Netherlands as one of the national top economic regions where innovation, knowledge, and economy in a triple helix approach are closely interacting. In this context, we will connect to the Eindhoven region and also intensify our contacts with the University of Tilburg and other higher education institutes in this area, which goes far beyond Eindhoven. Network forming is on the national agenda and has been declared a priority by the government. In this context, clustering of Dutch universities is seen as a means to come to more coordination in the higher education sector. So every institution is analyzing its context. Recently, much attention has been gained in the national press by the plans of our esteemed colleagues in Delft, Leiden, and Rotterdam to plan a mega merger between their universities. I must commend them for embarking on such an ambitious journey, and I wish them all the best for this challenging project. As somebody who has worked in one of the largest merger projects in the university world in Germany, the super merger of the Berlin Medical School and university hospitals, I can tell you that bigger is not always better. Differentiation in Dutch higher education also calls for individual approaches to collaborative networks. I envisage our university as an institution that I would call a global network university, a model that is also followed by other universities, for example, by New York University or the Freie University at Berlin, focusing on the international classroom, research and valorization clusters, which are regionally and internationally embedded, and establishing joint centers for education and research with other universities within this country, but also across the border. Within the next year, and in the context of the implementation of a new strategic program, we will work out and present a concept how we will respond to the questions laid out by this national agenda. And again, we are not afraid that we will present a very attractive contribution. This brings me to the third important relationship, and this is the universities and the private sector, and I call this chapter the balance of give and take. If you would talk about stereotypes, and I will come back to them later, the academic and private sector have a reputation of a severely disturbed relationship. Whereas academics are often considered by industry as residents of ivory towers, far removed from the issues relevant, the private sector in return is seen by people in academia only as profit-driven, short-sighted, and completely unaware of societal needs. This is, of course, a stereotype, but there's always some truth in every extreme. But the societal challenges that we have to expect calls also here for a joint agenda between the university world and the private sector in a true sense of public-private partnership. This is not an empty phrase, also not for this university, and in a recent report published by the University of Leiden investigating the interaction of universities with the industry sector, our university scored highest among the general university and just below the usual suspects from the three technical universities and Wageningen University, which of course traditionally have a lot of context. So I'm going back to the symposium this morning where we had the feeling nothing has happened here. I think a lot has happened here, and if you look at the output and the content, you can prove it, and this is a very good example. As I've said earlier, valorization of research results is a key denominator of a healthy interaction between the academic and the private sector. It is first and foremost the direct responsibility for the university family with its partners in the private sector, but also in the government, and should not be entirely left to others. And we have done a lot to enhance this over the last years. Together with the Maastricht University Medical Center, we have been active participants in the so-called top institutes. We have an incubator, we have Biomed Booster, we have holdings in the university and together with the Maastricht University Medical Center. And as I've said earlier, we also are very active in campus initiatives together with the private sector. For example, with the creation of these holdings, we have chosen early to enhance the foundation of new enterprises and spin-offs from within the university and the academic hospital and target them towards the market. With the development of the Biopartner building as an incubator for new initiatives, we have significantly contributed to creating a friendly atmosphere for small and MKB enterprises. My predecessors have recognized that incubators need to be close to the university or the academic hospital to provide a direct link between discovery and valorization to the market. As of today, more than 40 companies have been created by these efforts here in the Maastricht region, and already hundreds of jobs. And these are jobs that are also various teams, get foreigners here, provide work also for people in the area have been created. And there are more company developments in the pipeline, as we have heard recently, through interactions with the private sector. To take this one step further, we have committed ourselves fully to two important campus initiatives, Gemmelot Campus and the Maastricht Health Campus, where we will expand our partnership activities with the public and private sector significantly. Through the excellent cooperation with the stakeholders in these initiatives, DSM, Limburg Province, the city of Sittard-Geleen in Gemmelot, as well as the province, the city of Maastricht, the Limburg Investment Bank Liof, and of course the partnership of the university with the University Medical Center has been essential to really bring these concepts to life. We have made significant progress over the last year, and now I strongly believe that we must rapidly move to fill these concepts with life. As the business plans for the first projects are lying clear, the dynamics of the process will gain rapid speed during the coming academic year, and I am sure that we will talk a lot more about implementation of the concepts with rapid effects on the local knowledge economy. One example that shows also like these campus initiatives can innovate a whole region and sometimes also have positive, I would call it, additional effects, is the recently introduction of a new chair in business service and innovation, a nomination supported by O.C. Kannan in Venlo, the city of Venlo, and Maastricht University. The endowed chair, which has been filled in with Professor Jos Lemming, Dean of the School of Business and Economy, will provide innovation and knowledge development in context of initiatives of the Document Services Valley in North Limburg. The Netherlands have defined top sectors where this country traditionally has been strong and where the economic interests of the country as a whole go well together with academic strengths. Investment in research and innovation will therefore focus on these top sectors. In some of these top areas, such as the life sciences, agro-food, high-tech systems, and chemistry, we will, with our campus initiatives, together with our partners in the Brainport region, play a significant role. I should, however, also point out that despite it's very helpful to have these really applied approaches to collaboration and to research, we should never forget that it's also important for universities to have space for fundamental research, and this not only in the technical subjects, because also in the alpha-gamma science, this is very needed. And there's some concern that if we move just to the one side, if we forget this, we will have a problem in the future, because the societal aspects of many of these findings will be highly important and relevant for their implementation. We hope that we will contribute to the economic stability and wealth of our population, and we are sure we will succeed if we do this with our partners. We have seen interest from many of these partners, and some have even moved their businesses or parts of it to our campuses. The success of the Brains Unlimited initiative is an excellent example for this. Unique and international, highly competitive researchers stimulate new technical developments, leading to the expansion of business incubator ideas, and bring at the same time large companies to Maastricht to do some research work together with our scientists. This project also shows that stamina, enthusiasm, and support from all stakeholders is very important to make such a project happen. Other projects of similar relevance will follow, and I can promise you that we are already talking to many, many companies that already showed interest to join us in these endeavors. The final important relationship, number 4, that I will talk about is Maastricht University in the international context. And I've called this part from the international classroom to the global village. Maastricht University is a Dutch university with a truly international profile. This is the answer that we give when we are asked in the current discussions on differentiation and profile development. I'm saying this since we will continue to have at least 50% of our students from the Netherlands as part of our student population also in the future. Depending on bachelor and master structures, we will differentiate our foreign student population as we have chosen the international classroom as a key element, an instrument to make our students fit for their future roles and responsibilities in the knowledge-based economy. Historically, students from Germany and Belgium have been the largest percentage of the international student population here. In 2011, the population is much more diverse, including students from the United Kingdom to Saudi Arabia, from China to Poland. In this academic year, students from over 100 different countries are studying here, making university life in our city a truly international experience. Maastricht University is attractive to students seeking an education that makes them competitive in the European and global workspace. In the next years, we will diversify this population, as I said. For bachelor studies, we plan to have 45% of our students from other EU countries and 5% from outside the EU. And for master studies, we expect 35% of students from other EU countries and 15% from outside the EU. In this context, the recent discussions why Dutch taxpayers should pay for these international students are still going on and sometimes even a bit worrying. First of all, it is good to know for this discussion that the Netherlands, for a number of reasons, does not have a higher but a lower percentage of international students than many other countries and lies below the European average. And if you look in this publication from Education at a Glance, where you look at market shares of international students, and as we know, some countries such as Australia consider this education and university also a business. We are far away from that. If you look, the top countries are France, Germany, United Kingdom, United States. That's where the foreign students go, and also a number of other countries. The Netherlands market share is just above 1%. And if you look at countries where international students make up a large percentage of the student population, you will see that the Netherlands is here rather low. And even if we have to conclude that there are a lot of students from our eastern neighbors, from Germany, still it has to be kept in mind that Germany and Belgium and other countries, for example, have much more international students than we. So if this question is really addressed, is the Dutch taxpayer paying for all these students? The answer is yes, but you have to remember there are also foreign taxpayers paying for Dutch students in foreign countries. And the balance, if you bring up this issue, is not to the advantage of the Netherlands. So if there is some financial exercise done with other countries, the Netherlands would have to pay. But we should go away from this discussion. We should say, and we should consider, that also students and the student population from different countries in a city like Maastricht is a huge added value, not only for society, but also for the economic development of the region. A recent study carried out in the country has shown that for every euro invested by the Dutch government, 4 euros will stream into the local economy, directly or indirectly generating a huge return of investment. In short, this return of investment is better than anything I've seen on the stock markets, particularly today. Clearly, many jobs outside university depend on our flourishing student population. In addition to the notion that international students leave after their studies and return home is wrong, since approximately 20% of our alumni will work in and for the Dutch economy, in many cases in jobs where the Netherlands produce not enough graduate students. One example of the beta sciences where Dutch universities suffer from insufficient student numbers. With our newly founded Maastricht Science program, which started just a few days ago, we introduce an entirely new education concept for the sciences, where we get new students that would not have applied to come to the Netherlands, coming to Maastricht, and then not all of them will stay, of course, but many of them will go and fill in master programs in other Dutch universities that currently suffer from insufficient entrance from these students. Or they will go to Camelot or the Health Campus and have a job there, because we create jobs by having companies as spin-offs from our university. But still, questions are asked whether internationalization is good for this country. As a short interlude, let me tell you a little story to illustrate this and also to show that this is a really nonsensical discussion. For example, if you look at this man, who is very open. He says, let them, forget where they come from, let them come. You know, he's very, very Dutch. He has also the typical Dutch name, I believe, of Giovanni. So they come, they like it here, they're very positive about it, you know. He's very inviting. Then others says, yes, we be there. We come even on Sunday. And this guy even got his shirt somehow. I don't know. So then people come, they enjoy it, they work in other countries, and then at some time when they get older, they even can integrate. If you look at this man, for example, is a Dutchman, and you can see him here in a German newspaper, dressed in a very un-Dutch style, and then you can see he really gets a compliment that in this country is actually, if you're from the Netherlands, that's the top you can reach. Anyway, but this is just a joke, and I think the topic is too serious to just laugh about it, although you can sometimes laugh about it. And if you want to get serious, I think we should listen to the words of our Staatssecretaris in the ministry, who has made this very interesting statement just shortly ago. And I think he is right on the target. Our labor market demands graduates with international experience and perspectives. This might be achieved by sending students abroad for an exchange or a full degree. Alternatively, universities can create an international learning environment at home by attracting international students to the Netherlands. The latter will enhance the quality of our education. I think it's a wonderful blueprint for our strategic program, and we take it from there. On top of the added economic value represented by our students, almost 30% international staff members are working here at our university, resulting in more than 900 knowledge workers which have been educated in other countries and pay their taxes here. The Netherlands have an excellent position in the world based on their accessibility and international attractiveness. Over centuries, the international trade that has been built up in an expanded form, the Netherlands has created a knowledge sector coupled to an economy which is much larger than would have been expected from a country of this size. Maastricht University is benefiting from this image, and with its international perspective will expand and carry on the strategy on the international knowledge market. On this slide, you can see the alumni network of our university. It is spread over the whole world. So some people who say this is the largest German university outside Germany really don't understand what is happening here. The education as well as the positive impressions that these alumni took with them from Maastricht, Limburg, and the Netherlands will without doubt create an economical and equally important a societal return of investment. The international perspective of our university should come to nobody as a surprise. It is also a logical consequence that many of our students come from Germany or Belgium, since Limburg shares more borders with these countries than it has contact with the Netherlands. The so-called EU-region is therefore still an important focus for us, since the European ideas of a knowledge-based society is based on a Europe of regions that are not divided by political and historical borders. And if you look at this EU-region, I know you're talking about it for 35 years or longer. If you can make it happen, then you will actually solve a lot of problems with the demographic changes here. And as you know, this country has the famous Randstad, a very attractive name in the western part of this country. 4 million live there, but if we really make it happen with the cities of Hasselt, Liège, Aachen, others, we can really create an economic center, and those little dots here, all companies that are in this area, we can really make it happen here. We have a good tradition of collaboration with many of these universities and other institutions, for example, in the Transnational University of Limburg, together with the University of Hasselt. Also, I should mention, through the groundwork laid by the Academic Hospital Maastricht, the relation with the Universitätsklinikum Aachen has been developing over the last years and resulted in many collaborative projects supported from the work floor in patient care and research. And we will enhance these contacts also not only to go on a hospital level, but also as a university as a whole. I also would like to mention international research networks such as the neuroscience network EURON, which has a very strong basis in the region. And of course, the strong collaboration, the unique collaboration of the Faculty of Psychology and Neuroscience with the center in Jülich. And those of you who have been there this morning at our workshop where people said, oh, nothing has happened. If you look at these initiatives, I think a lot has happened. We just have to bring it into one coherent concept and just don't have to do it standalone. But not everything points to a bright future, and I think after these rather positive visions, let me also come to some aspects that we need to get rid of, that we in fact have to bury. And at the end of my talk, I will also talk about these things. One of the image that Maastricht University still creates in some places is that it's a merely educational institute for bachelors and trying to make its living on getting German students to study here. I think this is completely wrong. We have to actively communicate that our agenda of leading and learning is still our motto, but that we are now a well-established and active research university which provides excellent results despite a significantly lower research budget than many of our sister institutions in the country. Already in an analysis of the quality of the master programs, which was carried out by Elsevier, Maastricht scored in a top position. Some newspapers called this excellent research-related position surprising. Certainly, it was not an arbitrary finding. Our recent success in the Research Graduate School program by the NWO, where now 5 out of 38 funded programs are built in Maastricht, with a total of €4 million for PhD research grants, is again evidence that the stereotype of a local educational institute is not correct. Not only the university, but also the province of Limburg and South Limburg, it's still hampered by a somewhat negative image in the rest of this country. And I, as a foreigner who came here and traveled to Den Haag and many other places, actually came across these stereotypes. Just to give you some example, and I think we really have to stop with this. There's a certain image of Limburg people that they party a lot and don't work very hard. That was one of the deans of a medical school in the western of the Netherlands told me, oh, you guys party just like that. This is wrong. People are working very hard and they're very serious. Also, there's this feeling sometimes, as people in Limburg also need to be helped to go somewhere, to be fit, to make fit, or to work or something. They have to be put on an escalator, like a colony. That is also wrong. And also there's the stereotype that they take so long taking decisions that sometimes the trees are growing and you can't move out of your spot again. This is all wrong, and I've recently listened to a concept presentation from the so-called Region Branding Office. They talk to people outside Limburg about their perception of Limburg, and one of the statements was, it's nice for a weekend, but not for life. And I think we have to deal with this issue to really actively show what's really happening here. Limburg has, of course, to deal with an aging population combined with a higher morbidity and mortality. Of course, there's economic inequality resulting in an atmosphere of unhappiness and depression. It is remarkable that while this image still exists, all of the ingredients for success as a region are present at the same time. With our university and the other institutions of higher education, the presence of big industry, small and medium enterprises, innovative ideas, and at the same time, high quality of living. In my view, this paradox is also influenced by the typical modesty of the Limburger, who sometimes behaves too much as an underdog. As somebody who moved here from another country, I should tell you that I wish that the people of Limburg should, and certainly could, be more proud of their region and proud of what they have achieved. More self-esteem is needed rather than always look at what has happened in other parts of the country. Our symposium this morning, Challenging Demographics, has showed very convincingly that we can, as a region, not only challenge some of the problems of demography, and that together as knowledge institutions, public and private sectors, we must make this region as a success. Let's therefore forget a little bit of this modesty. Let us together work for Limburg as a self-assured player in the national context. From such a perspective, we can convert some of our weaknesses in strengths. Looking at the aging population, for example, why not declaring the challenges of old age economically, health-wise, and socially to a target to create innovative solutions? Why not battle the high prevalence of diseases with innovative study and prevention programs, such as the Maastricht study? And why not implement the overall concept of the Camelot and the health campus in Maastricht as really the motor for this society with our partners? Let's introduce together new, innovative educational programs which generate new knowledge workers, also from abroad, that will not only feed in the local economy, but also stream into follow-up programs in other parts of the Netherlands, in the economy, but also in other universities. And let us use the competencies and knowledge, for example, in our School of Business and Economics, to help jump-starting the local economy by new concepts such as Sovereign Science Factory or the Center for Entrepreneurship, where students are actually carrying out very innovative projects. And let's live up to the recent history of Maastricht by making our graduates ready for the European and global job market with such educational focus areas: European studies, European law school, international business, and global health. So, Limburg, alone for the Limburgers, I'm afraid that will not work. We need not only to align ourselves with our immediate neighbors in Belgium and Germany, we also need to generate an international study and working environment that will rejuvenate this region. Maastricht University will be at the center of this innovative process. It will be a real-life laboratory, not only to confront our big challenges as a society, but also by giving an example that an open society without the constraints of historical borders will be a healthy basis for a prosperous region where Limburgers and non-Limburgers alike can look to a good future. Therefore, we must bury the fears and stereotypes. We also need to stand up against insecurity, xenophobia, economic and social depression. In the end, it's up to us how we together can cope with this crisis. I must congratulate our colleagues in Eindhoven for having defined their region as the smartest region. I would like to propose that Limburg should strive to develop itself into the label that is even better. Maybe we call it even the best region, combining smartness with a high quality of lifestyle, beautiful surroundings, and a place where innovative education concepts are the academic breeding ground for a thriving economy. Before I end, and I apologize, I've already taken too much time. Before I end, let me lay down how this university will see its role as an institution and as a partner for this region in my personal view. One, we are a Dutch university with a foundation in Limburg and a particular role for the south of the Netherlands and the so-called Brainport 2020 region. Two, we are and will be the most international university in this country, making our students fit for the challenges of the European and global knowledge society. We will also be a true network university, not running after super mergers, but we like to link up and collaborate with the knowledge regions, institutions in our region, over the border and internationally, which are very complementary with us. Four, we will continue to be an innovator in the educative process, building up on our motto, leading in learning, and combining it with societal relevant focused research. Five, we will, together with our partners in the private and public sector, be a motor for the economical and societal development of this region by joining forces with the province of Limburg, the cities, and also the economic sector. Six, we will bring highly skilled knowledge workers from the Randstad and other countries to contribute to the local infrastructure, demographic development, and economic future. We will be a bastion for openness, freedom of thought and speech, and a motor of fighting inequalities. And last but not least, we will be the academic core of this region by being at the center of interaction between culture, knowledge, economy, and societal needs. Of course, New York is saying, yeah, that's big words. We have heard it many times. And we have asked the question this morning at our symposium, how do we solve this? We need another agenda, we need another concept, we need another steer group. I think it's really very complicated. Huh? And then sometimes you even have the feeling people look at you like they're waiting for Sinterklaas and say, when is it all happening? When is he coming? When is he coming? And it all sounds terribly complicated. I think it's not. I think it's a very simple, very simplistic solution to all of this, because it really has to deal with the small things you do. It's not about the big concepts. It's about your self-esteem and what you do with yourself and your environment. And then tomorrow, when the party is over, I give you some examples. What could happen when we can live this or start to live this in a bottom-up process? You know, when the first student comes to an office with a question or a complaint, when the first patient comes to our academic hospital, and he may even be a candidate for the Maastricht study, when the first international employee enters the city hall and goes to a locket and wants to be helped and needs his advice, and when the first call is made to a local band with a business idea and a business plan from our university, or our medical center. And when we have the first talk about how to best connect Limburg with our neighbors, that's really how simple it is. That's when it starts. We just have to do it all together, and we have to memorize this, that this university is not far, far away in another galaxy. It's at the heart of the city, it's at the heart of this region, and it's your partner. And when we can do it together, I think we will be very successful. That's really, it's not a solution, but that's the proposal I would like to make, because, as I said, the ingredients are clear. Let's make it happen, and let's take it from here. And that is really all I have to tell to you today in this opening speech. Thank you very much.